Hey, you're watching Vinyl 4 Miles, your best resource for music and audio gear reviews. Today we have a controversial topic. It is the top 10 reasons why you should not buy or invest in vinyl in 2024. Stick around. Hey music fans and gearheads alike, welcome to the channel. I am Michael. This is Vinyl 4 Miles. It's the channel where we focus on all things music, gear, and today, vinyl. It's been a little while since I've had a dedicated vinyl topic, so I thought I could put together a nice video demonstrating the top 10 reasons why you should not invest in vinyl in 2024. Now, full disclosure, I absolutely love vinyl. This channel loves vinyl. We focused on it pretty much purely for the first 2 years of this channel. So that being said, you know we love vinyl here. For the sake of argument and given trends and inflation that has happened, I thought it would be a great time for me to illustrate the top 10 reasons why vinyl might not be the best choice for you. So why don't we kick off this top 10 list and start with number 10. So starting with number 10, it will be declining availability. Now, while vinyl has had a huge resurgence in the past 10 years, you can walk into Walmart, Target, pretty much any of the big brand stores, you can find vinyl on the shelf, usually for a decent price. However, if you're into more obscure artists or a niche genre, you're gonna have a hell of a time finding the albums you want in those stores. This will result in you either going online or going record hunting at different record shops trying to find a specific album. Good example of this is the War of Being from Tesseract. When this album came out, I wanted to purchase it from an actual local indie record store. Unfortunately, nobody had it. So I bought it online and I actually had to pay a little extra with tax, shipping, so on to get it to my front door. So this just illustrates the point. Availability for certain artists and pressings are gonna be at a limited quantity. Moving on to number 9. That is going to be cost. Now, vinyl can be a pricey hobby and prices have steadily increased over time. Now, we started collecting in 2014 in our household, and when we used to go record hunting, we could find a brand new album, single LP, $16 to $18. Double LPs, anywhere from $19 to $25. Fast forward to 2024, you're looking at $30 to $40 some places for a single LP and up to $60 for a double LP, which is insane. Now, there's still some websites you can get really good pricing on. I'll give you one example. Here I have The Darkness's album, Permission to Land. This is, I think it's the 20th anniversary or 15th anniversary edition that just came out. So this was going to cost me close to $45 if I purchased it directly through The Darkness. I had a link on Amazon. I was able to get this for 23 bucks with free shipping out the door. So you have to really weigh the pros and cons. Do you want to support your artist? Do you have enough money to do that? If you're broke, or if you're only have a certain budget for new music and you want to use something like Amazon or Walmart, while it's not my first choice, if it makes sense and this is what will keep your collecting going, you got to do it. Now, I did some market research and we're sitting at about a 30% price increase in just the past 4 years with vinyl. So if you're someone looking to start collecting, but you don't have a huge budget for it, I'm sorry to say it, but this might not be the correct medium for you. Moving on to number 8, it's going to be fragility. Now, records are a fragile medium. They are susceptible to scratches, to warps, depending on where you're storing your record, how often you play it. They can eventually lose quality over time too. It's not going to be like a digital file that will sound the same every time you play it. The more you listen to your album, the higher the chances that that audio quality will eventually degrade. So if you're somebody who is obsessed with quality, you don't want to necessarily have to hold albums by the ends like I'm doing here, or you can hold it in the middle. Do this, trigger a bunch of people. Don't worry, this is a messed up album I only use for display purposes on my lamp over here. But if that's something you're not really into and you like to manhandle your stuff and you want something to be extremely consistent every single time you play it, I highly recommend you listen to some high-res digital files and not pick up an album. There's one more aspect of the fragility that I'm talking about on here and the fragile aspect of albums, and that's in the pressing process itself. If there's dust, a hair, anything that gets in the process while it's being pressed, it could result in a brand new LP, like I got here, sounding like garbage. Now, this album had all kinds of noise, distortion, and there were scratches and pits that were put in this album from the manufacturer. Even though you're buying a brand new album, there's no guarantee that that album is going to sound great or not have any issues. If there are issues, contact the manufacturer or the distributor and ask them to exchange it for you. Moving on to number 7, it's going to be portability. Now, vinyl is not the most portable option when it comes to sharing and listening to your music collection. If you're like me and have an entire room dedicated to your collection because you just have way too much, it's going to be pretty hard for you to pack up your vinyl collection and bring it to your buddy's house and have an expansive amount of music to share. Now, if you have something like your phone and Tidal, where you can get high-res FLAC files and any artist you can think of in the past at least 30 years on that one device, you can go to your friend's house and listen to all of your music in one place, bring it, stick it in your pocket, no issues. So keep that in mind if you're somebody who likes music on the go. Vinyl might not be the best choice for you. Moving on to number 6, it's going to be maintenance. Now, if you're somebody who likes to have your music ready to go instantly and you don't want to have to do anything to keep it in top shape, well, vinyl is not going to be a good choice for you. Vinyl records do require maintenance. You're going to want to make sure that your vinyl is clean, free of static, free of dust, free of scratches if you want to get the top quality out of that album. Now, when you do have all of these requirements met, you regularly clean your records, they're free of all that stuff I just mentioned, you are going to notice a huge uptick in quality if you get a really good pressing of an album that pretty much will just put to shame any digital version that you can find out there. But if you are somebody who does not like to do these tasks of cleaning, wiping off your records, or investing in cleaning kits for vinyl specifically, then this is not going to be the correct medium for you. All right, moving on to number 5, it's going to be limited selection. So we already talked about limited availability. That has to do with the pricing, has to do with the amount of pressings, certain genres. But when it comes to limited selection, you need to look at your favorite bands first and see if they are even pressing albums. So there's a ton of indie artists out there who simply cannot afford to press their albums to vinyl. Now, if you get in a situation where more than half of the music that you listen to is smaller indie artists who do not have pressings available, then vinyl really will not be a good choice for you because you're gonna end up listening to some of your favorite bands on digital anyways. So I've been to a lot of shows the past year and I've observed what these bands and indie artists are actually selling at their booths. And a lot of people are no longer selling CDs. So even if you're looking for another physical format outside of vinyl for those indie artists, you gotta make sure too that they have CDs. So vinyl and CDs are both something that may be hard to find for those smaller indie bands that may not have the budget to do mass pressings. Now, when it comes to limited selection, it kind of goes back to cost and it goes back to availability. A lot of the resale values on these albums in 2024 is just absolutely insane. Let me give you one example. This album from Lana Del Rey, did you know there's a tunnel under Ocean Boulevard? I have to cover up one section here. This was a very controversial pressing. I got it on the early list. I signed up for the pre-order and this came no problem to me. However, this goes for over $130 now. So some things, they only make a few of them and they don't repress them, and then they're gonna skyrocket in value and you're gonna either have to fork out all of that money or just live with not owning that album. So keep that in mind. Limited selection, and a lot of indie artists just simply can't afford to press their albums anymore. All right, let's move on to number 4, and that is going to be a big one, and that's space. Where are you living? Do you have a shared house where you have one room? Are you renting an apartment? Does your larger house actually have room to store these albums? It's pretty easy to do at first. If you have under 100 albums, you could stick them in any room you want. As soon as you get past that 200 album threshold, you're gonna start having issues with space. I have a whole room in my house, which I'm gonna cut to right now and kind of give you a little peek into where my listening area is. And I have a 4x4 cube, so that's 8 cubes total, with completely packed full of albums. And then I have another 2x2 cube that's packed full. I have my closet that's packed full. I have more albums under here, and I have albums on this little display that I built in my home studio. So space is going to be something you need to consider. If you're in a small house or an apartment, or if you're just starting to collect in a small bedroom, this might not be the best format for you because you're gonna run out of space pretty quick. It's also worth noting that this is a little addicting, and you may think, hey, I'm just gonna take up a small portion of this room, and then in 3 years, you have 4 rooms full of records. Just be careful. Once you start collecting, it's really hard to stop. Let's move on to number 3, and that is going to be inconvenience. Listening to records is a ritual. You're gonna have to find the album in your collection, pull it out of your collection, open the gatefold or sleeve, pull the actual record out, stick it on your turntable, make sure your turntable's set to the correct speed. You're then gonna have to lift up your tone arm and stylus, place it in the correct spot. Depending on your setup, if you're fully manual, you don't have a tone arm lift, you're gonna have to do that all on your own and make sure you put it in the right area. You can then start listening to your album, which is great, but once you get past like song 4 or 5, your music's gonna stop. you're gonna have to get your ass up, get that album, move the tone arm, take it off, flip the album over, put it on, and then start listening again. Now that's great. Then you get to another 4 or 5 tracks and it's done again. You have to get back up. If it's a double LP, you're gonna have to open back up that gatefold, pull out LP number 2, stick it on the turntable, and follow that whole ritual over again. Now, a lot of people like me take joy in that ritual, and it gives me time to read the liner notes, look at the artwork, but if you're somebody who is inconvenienced from having to get up, having to constantly flip albums, and having to use a manual turntable to get your music going, then you know what? Vinyl really is not going to be a good choice for you. I would stick with digital, where you can just click a few buttons on your phone and start playing music and not have to worry about it. All right, moving on to number 2, and this is a huge one. This is a big reason why people get into vinyl collecting, but it's also a good reason to not get into it, and that's sound quality. Now, if you have an audiophile setup, you have a legit pressing from master tapes, then you're gonna be blown away by how good an album can sound, especially if you clean it, get rid of the static. It sounds amazing when you have the proper setup. However, there are hundreds of variables that could come into play that will screw up your sound quality. As I mentioned earlier, you're not guaranteed to get a good pressing from a manufacturer, even if it's new. There could be issues with it. It could be a bad pressing. They could have, used the masters from digital instead of tape. It could be compressed. I've even had albums that sounded like they pressed it from an MP3. So when it comes to sound quality, you're gonna have to do some extra legwork. Do a little research, see if they're pressing these albums from an actual master tape, and review some stuff online, see what people say. That's why I typically don't go on pre-orders right away until I hear back from either the band, how they're pressing it, or I wait a few weeks and see what people's reviews are of that album, because sometimes people just get a handful of duds, and if it's one pressing plate with multiple variants, you might be screwed. So that's something to keep in mind. If you want top quality audio that is consistent and has the least amount of variables to screw up that quality, FLAC, master quality audio, look into services such as Tidal. Apple Music now has master quality. Spotify, I think, has high-res available. Listening to high-res digital formats, especially in 2024, might be better if you're looking for the top possible quality when it comes to your audio. But again, if you get the right copy, the right setup, nothing beats vinyl. Ultimately, whether or not you should buy vinyl in 2024 comes down to your personal preference. If you love the tactile experience and the nostalgia of vinyl, then by all means, go for it. But if it's convenience, cost, or space concern for you, there are plenty of other music formats out there that take up a fraction of the space and a fraction of the inconvenience. So at the end of the day, it's really up to you. So there you have it, folks. That's the top 10 reasons to not purchase or invest in vinyl in 2024. What are your thoughts on this topic? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content from Vinyl for Miles. And until next time, keep spinning those tunes. See ya.